wish a jolly good morning to everyone, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to invite you to the realm of female aesthetic surgery to ask some very simple but yet very important questions towards these procedures today. My name is Mihály Géczi. I'm working at the first department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. And my mission is, of course, to aim for perfection in aesthetic surgery. And the vision is to find the best methods which allow the best functional and aesthetic outcome. In our first steps, we wanted to investigate two of the most common and most desired female aesthetic surgeries, labiaplasty and, of course, augmentation. We started our first project last September, which is investigating the effect of female genital beautification and rejuvenation. Well, many women are not really pleased with the looks or the size of their outer genitalia, so they want it to be modified. Not even long ago, this kind of operation existed only, or were only just simple resections of the labia minora. However, in the last few years, it really outgrew itself. It became an industry. And now it became the so-called female genital beautification concept. Right now, we can say it contains conventional techniques, many conventional techniques, and every 2 to 3 years, we can also experience some new techniques to arise. But let's cut to the chase. The purpose of every operation is to alter the female outer genitalia to a better looking, functioning, and of course, satisfactory result. Why is it important? What really highlights the importance of this topic is that the demand for these kind of operations year to year rises. It's really skyrocketing nowadays. We can very safely say that these operations, labia minoroplasty and majoroplasty, are very safe and satisfactory operations. However, in the field of aesthetic surgery, we are not really, don't really like what is good, we only like what is perfect. So, our question arises, which is the most satisfactory and most demanded techniques of female genital beautification concept? In our research, we concentrated on women who underwent some kind of labiaplasty operations. We compared all the methods, all techniques of labiaplasty, but we wanted to concentrate especially only on the newly emerged ones. Our outcomes would be complications like bleeding, swelling, dehiscence, and hematome. And our questions on the end of the day would be that these newly emerged techniques are bringing something new, something beneficial to the table or not. We did a systematic search last November with the search key shown below. Running down the rabbit hole, we ended up with 55 eligible full text. And let's cut to the outcomes. Well, our outcomes were surprising yet satisfying on the same way, on the same account. Why? We saw that the patient satisfaction is interestingly very high, not regarding to the technique. However, there is a mild difference between them. And we saw some mild benefit in the case of very easy techniques in less invasive, less complicated techniques. For example, deepitalization or laser labiaplasty. However, regarding to complications, and I want to highlight especially dehiscence in this case, we saw that the more complex and more invasive techniques are really worse in this way because they are causing more complications. The operations are not just longer, but the complications are arising in this case. What are our strengths? Well, actually, this is the first really wide and broad research in this area and the first comparative one. However, we are really limited by the heterogeneity of the patients, and most importantly, there is not really a widely used scoring system which really limits the patient follow-up, what we use. At the end of our fairy tale, what we can conclude on that there is some significant difference between these techniques. However, Maybe we should concentrate on the need of the patients and the patient satisfactions and not over-competing each other with more difficult techniques and twists, because maybe simple is better in this case. Of course, this is an implication for practice. We have to do patient-focused interventions, and we have to work on our patient follow-up and questionnaire to maybe use a universal follow-up or score system. And of course, this is an implication for research too, that we have to refine your indications and, as I told you already, map out a new universally usable satisfaction score system. We are really close to finish our manuscript. I think that till the weekend we can get it over to internal review. Our first journal would be the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. I really hope that we can achieve to get it accepted. And allow me to resettle to my second topic, which investigates really one of the most common aesthetic procedure, the aesthetic breast surgery in women. Well, out of question, by all means, aesthetic breast surgery is really the most demanded operation worldwide. More than 1.5 million women are undergoing this kind of surgery worldwide. What is the problem? That a large group of women are in the fertile age when they are undergoing this operation, which means that, unfortunately, these operations can have an impact on breastfeeding. And we know nowadays that breastfeeding is not just important by transporting some very important nutrients, but also it has a big role in the physiological and psychological development of the newborn baby. And we also know that, unfortunately, by doing this operation, sometimes, regarding the technique of course, but unwittingly, sometimes we can damage some nerves and vessels in the breast, which can have, unfortunately, an impact on breastfeeding. So the fearful question arises, do aesthetic breast surgery have a great impact on breastfeeding? Because I don't know about you, but I imagine a perfect world with beautiful breasts and healthy children. So we concentrated in this case on lactating women. We want to compare different types of aesthetic breast surgery, but what we really want to concentrate on in this case to compare in subgroups, for example, allograft transplantation, so fat transplantation with conventional techniques. And of course, we're going to compare it to no history of aesthetic breast surgery, and we will see if there is any change in breastfeeding rate and length in these women. Our hypothesis is, unfortunately, might aesthetic breast surgery decreases the ability of breastfeed, but maybe fat allograft transplantation has potentially less effect in this case. And our implication would be that maybe it is advisable to wait with these kind of operations before undergoing these operations, before family planning. We did our preliminary research with this search key below, and we are quietly working on it hardly to get it done as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your attention. To infinity and beyond by Buzz Lightyear is my closing words. Thank you. If I can answer any questions.
Hello, my name is Adam Csirzo. Thank you for your presentation. My question is regarding to your second project.
Yes.
Did you try to investigate the financial background, the different techniques, the cost of
financial background? Actually not, but it's an interesting question, and maybe we should do it. We are at the beginning of this project, actually. There is only one meta-analysis of it, which came out like 3 years ago, and it really has a small data, and we'll have more, but it's an interesting question. I'm not sure we can find enough data on that. And on the other hand, I think the costs of these operations are really depending on the country when we are in. Because actually in Switzerland, for example, such kind of operation is like costs 6 times more than in Hungary or in Germany too. So it would be very hard to compare them, in my opinion. But still, it's an interesting question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my question is also about the second project and about this breast operation. Are you involving also articles about indication for breast reduction, for example, by orthopedic indication? Is it also in this topic?
No. We are concentrating on aesthetic implications right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So congratulations. Just regarding your first topic, do you have any data regarding the partner satisfaction, or do you plan to do it somehow?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. It would be great actually, but I think it's really women focused, and unfortunately men are not really asked about it. But in my opinion, men are not that much caring about this than women, in my opinion. So they are mostly fine with that.
Hello, I have a question about your first project.
Yes.
You said that you investigated the patient satisfaction, but my question would be, if you said that you and your colleagues aim for perfection, wouldn't it be great if we could actually also investigate the surgeon opinion about the aesthetic result?
Well, in my opinion, yeah, that's what I told in my presentation. That in my opinion, we really should ask the patient about it, because the patient will be bearing these labia minora in her life. So it's not really about us what we like or what we think is good, because we are really trying to come up with new operations, new kind of operations like butterfly technique, W-shaped technique. It's really complicated, long operations, but the patients are not really caring about it, and I think it's not really our job to tell what is good for the patient. The patient has to tell us what she likes, aesthetically or functionally, in my opinion. The problem is that, and I thank you for the question, that we don't really have a good scoring system for that. We have 4 different scoring systems, and we try to use them, but they are very heterogenic. So it would be good to develop one which is very much patient-focused.
Yeah,
Thank you.
If I can ask a question too.
Yes.
I mean, in your first study, I mean, this is really very nice. I mean, a very nice set of data and also clear results, as I understand. Still, you put a question mark after that. Is this better? Although you show that it is actually simply is better in general. And then you add that there are certain circumstances which are not. So maybe you are a little too political instead of being provocative on this. So how do you feel about this?
You're right. You're right. I think the whole theme is very subjective. So we are talking about aesthetic surgery, and aesthetic surgery is always very, very subjective. What is good? What is beautiful? What we find beautiful? So it is hard to answer your questions, not diplomatically. And yes, it is the whole research is very diplomatical in this way. You're right. But we still want to find some objective result in the end, if possible. And I think what we found is a good advice in this field, to really not overcomplicate it, because the patients are not really caring about this. But still, you're right, I think it is almost impossible to be 100% objective in aesthetic surgery when we are talking about beauty.